What's up, everybody? NTCertified here, and today is Sunday, and I took a break from playing Zelda to pretty much take a shower and eat, which I haven't done pretty much all morning at this point, but also didn't have much else to do, so I decided to just shoot another video, and this one is going to be about this week in WWE. You know, everybody knows that WrestleMania is coming up in a little bit over 3 weeks, I believe, and I'm gonna fly down to Orlando to attend the show, so I'm pretty excited about that. And I have a pretty good story about Orlando and WrestleMania, so let's go ahead and hop into it. So ironically, Orlando was the first WrestleMania that I've ever been to, and that was WrestleMania 24, almost 10 years ago to be exact. WrestleMania 24, we're on 33 right now, so 9 years ago, and I believe I was 19 at the time. Flew down to Orlando, and I don't even think I was working full-time at that point, just working part-time, so I purchased my own ticket, plane ticket and WrestleMania ticket, and I believe I set that stuff up like 3 or 4 days before the show even happened. So I just kind of like hopped on a plane and did it and went down to Orlando and enjoyed myself, but I was super low on cash. I believe I skated through with like a pizza for like 3 days down there. Maybe I stayed 2. I think I flew down on Saturday morning and then I left on Monday morning, so about 2 days, and pretty much just lived on a pizza in my hotel room. And another funny thing is that after the show was over, I didn't know how the shuttles worked or anything because I'd never traveled like alone by myself. I actually hadn't been on a plane until then. So my hotel, I believe, was about 4 miles or so from what used to be the Citrus Bowl, and I actually walked it the whole way, 11 at night. And I got home, or no, I didn't get home, but I got back to my hotel room. It was probably after 1 p.m. and I got stopped by so many random shady people down in Orlando. It was such a scary experience. And then I had all my merchandise in my hand, and I'm just walking through these streets, and people are asking me like, where are you going? Like, where are you headed? It was an experience, but a story nonetheless. And I'm happy to be going back to Orlando now that I'm stable and I'm able to enjoy myself more. So I'll be visiting all the, the outside things with WrestleMania, Raw, SmackDown, Access, Hall of Fame, NXT TakeOver. But enough about that. Let's go ahead and get into these Raw and SmackDown results, and let's analyze those a little bit. And I'll give you my opinion on how I feel about Raw and SmackDown and what's going on for WrestleMania at this point. So Raw began with Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho. Jericho comes out to the ring. He wants to know why Kevin Owens attacked him, why he turned his back on his best friend, and Kevin Owens, answered the call and pretty much told Jericho that he used him, to keep his championship. And once he what was the word that he used? Can't think of the word that I'm looking for, but his usefulness pretty much had run out. Jericho accepted the challenge for Goldberg at Fastlane, and Kevin Owens lost the championship, which I don't think should have happened still to this day. I don't think Goldberg should be world champion. I don't care if it's WrestleMania or SummerSlam or whatever pay-per-view it is. I don't think it should have happened. But nonetheless, we're going to have Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho at WrestleMania for the U.S. title, which I'm happy with because I think Jericho is a legacy talent at this point. He's amazing, and Kevin Owens deserves a featured match, not some multi-man match like a ladder match. So it's going to be really good to see that match on the card. Really excited about that. So next thing was Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn in a singles match. Kevin Owens getting the pinfall over Sami in kind of a squash fashion. Kind of beat him pretty quickly. I mean, Sami got a little bit of offense, but it wasn't much. And I'm starting to see Zayn's push go away. Now I know because Rollins was hurt, you know, they had to push another face, but now Jericho is a face. So where does that leave Sami Zayn in the mix of things? I don't see Sami getting a match at WrestleMania. He's probably going to be in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. It may come down to him and Strowman, which I also don't understand why Braun Strowman doesn't have a regular match at WrestleMania is beyond belief for me. But it may come down to Zayn and Strowman, similar to like was it Sandow and Big Show, I want to say 2 years ago. I believe it was Damien Sandow and Big Show at WrestleMania 31, like a David and Goliath type thing. But I mean, Strowman is going to take it. It was good to see Kevin Owens get an actual like win, a strong win. Why it took for his title reign to be over for them to give him a strong win over somebody is beyond me, because I feel like Kevin Owens could have been a much better champion if they booked him to be stronger. Cruiserweight Championship, Neville versus Rich Swann. Neville has done an amazing job as Cruiserweight Champion. I believe he is a long-term champion that they can build that division around. Rich Swann is a cool guy. I knew Rich years ago. I'm so happy to see him in WWE. It was good to see him get his rematch. I would have rather seen it on a pay-per-view. It just kind of happened, and then now it's gone, and now Austin Aries is back, and we may see Austin Aries versus Neville at WrestleMania, which should also be amazing in itself. Good to see Aries back, and just happy to see him on the main roster, finally. It's been a long time coming, and he deserves it. The next thing was the confrontation between Goldberg and Brock Lesnar. Now, Goldberg could have started the show, but they were in Chicago, so I think it was smart of WWE to not have Goldberg open the show at 8 p.m. and to have him open the 9 p.m. hour, because you can never predict what's going to happen with the Chicago crowd, and he did get some boos, and it was the first indication of boos for Goldberg as world champion, and I expect there to be more of them, especially heading into WrestleMania, because I believe everybody's rooting for Brock Lesnar at this point. My take on Goldberg and Lesnar is that that should not be the main event of WrestleMania. I know it is, and I know it's for the Universal Championship, but Goldberg, I can't say that I've ever seen a decent Goldberg match. Okay, I lied. I've seen a decent Goldberg match. I can never say that I've seen a classic Goldberg match. I just haven't. And he's 10 years older now. So he's 50 years old. He was having okay matches back then, and 10 years later he's not going to come back and just miraculously have a 5-star match. And Brock Lesnar isn't having 5-star matches either. I mean, his days of having 5-star matches with Kurt Angle and decent matches with RVD and people like that, it's long gone. And to put them two in the final match of WrestleMania, to me, I don't know, it doesn't make sense. And I don't think the match should go over 10 minutes. I mean, I hope not, because I don't want to see Goldberg get gassed, and I just don't want the match to bomb. I mean, we've already gotten one bomb from them. I don't want to see another one. In my personal opinion, I say switch it up and have Goldberg and Lesnar open the show. I think that would be a switch, not Nintendo. Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows versus Enzo and Cass for the Raw Tag Team Championships. Not going to spend a lot of time on that because I don't feel like the tag team scene on Raw is doing much of anything. They're just stagnant right now. It's going to be a triple threat match along with Sheamus and Cesaro, and I'm okay with that. Will it get on the main show? I'm not sure. It might be a pre-show match. Akira Tozawa versus Arya Daivari. A quick cruiserweight style match. They're still not having long matches on Raw, which I think is silly, but Daivari moves on. I'm sorry. Tozawa moves on. Here's hoping there's bigger things for him going down the line. The New Day versus the Shining Stars. We all know that the New Day are the hosts of WrestleMania. They don't have a match on the card, which I think is ridiculous. You put the Club on the show, and you put Enzo and Cass on the show, and you put, who else? Cesaro and Sheamus on the show, but you don't put your biggest tag team in the company on the show. That is ridiculous. I think it's a cheap constellation prize to make them the host. They need to have a match on the show. It's a travesty, in my opinion, but it'll be good to see what they pull off or how innovative they get. Maybe we'll finally get those popsicles, those ice creams from the New Day for WrestleMania. The Raw women's division is kind of weird right now. Bayley's champion, and I don't think Bayley's panning out as much as they thought that she would. Maybe it's because of the way that she's being booked, but there's something about Bayley that's just not clicking with me right now. I feel like Sasha is still the choice of the people, and I feel like Sasha Banks should probably be champion going into WrestleMania at this point, and maybe build Bayley up to win the title at SummerSlam. Giving Charlotte her first loss at Fastlane kind of had me scratching my head because I really didn't understand it. I don't understand why they waited until the show before WrestleMania to have Charlotte take her first loss. I believe it should have happened at WrestleMania. Would have had much more of an impact if it did. And now looking back, Sasha Banks has beaten Bayley, Nia Jax, and Charlotte. I want to say back to back to back. I just think it was kind of weird that it played out that way. That she's beaten all three of them, and we're still having, a triple threat match, and Nia Jax has nothing to do right now. So looking forward to tomorrow's show and seeing, if they mix her in, because she'll be like the only diva. Oh, they're not divas anymore. The only women's superstar that doesn't have a match on the card, besides Alicia Fox, but Alicia Fox is with Cedric Alexander. She's on 205 Live at this point. She's no longer on Raw. And Dana Brooke, but Dana Brooke just doesn't even matter at this point. Maybe someday. Triple H and Seth Rollins. Maybe we'll see Seth Rollins return at WrestleMania, but I don't see them having a match scheduled. I see Rollins making an appearance, coming out and calling Triple H out, and maybe they set up an impromptu match. But either way, I believe that we'll see Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, and I think that'll make everybody happy. And then we got to figure out what's going on with Samoa Joe. Is Samoa Joe going to have a match at WrestleMania? Is Finn Balor going to come back for WrestleMania? Is it going to be Sami Zayn and Samoa Joe again? Highly doubtful. But Samoa Joe is just out there in the wind also. And that leads us to the main event match, which was Jericho and Samoa Joe. Joe is being built like a monster, and I'm digging it. Like, he's just running through everybody, and the same happened with Jericho. I mean, Samoa Joe was in control for about 90% of that match with Chris Jericho, and I think the count-out victory was good because it kept Jericho strong, but it also made Joe look like a monster. And at the end, they had the exchange where Jericho gave Joe the code breaker to show that he still had some fight left in him, which was a nice touch. That keeps Jericho looking decent, and it keeps Joe looking great, which I like. Now, the final segment of Raw was the confrontation where Braun Strowman was calling out Roman Reigns. Braun Strowman stood in the ring. Here comes The Undertaker. Big surprise, here comes The Undertaker, and he comes to the ring. Strowman backs off and leaves. Kind of awkward, because Strowman is like on the back burner now. I don't see him doing anything significant leading up to WrestleMania other than throwing some guys over the top rope before he wins the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. I don't think there's any other thing for him right now, other than winning that Battle Royal and getting a major push leading into SummerSlam. But I still don't see him getting into the world title picture because I feel like Roman Reigns is groomed for that. So once Undertaker hit the ring, here comes Roman Reigns. They have a standoff, and he says that it's his yard now, which is only going to get him boos at this point. If it's going to be face versus face, like, give Reigns a chance to be cheered, because at this point, it's not happening. And I don't think it is going to happen because they're building him similar to Cena. And I just don't think that's going to work for another 10 years for a lot of people. I mean, he's overly popular. He is a popular guy. He has the look. He has the athleticism, everything. He's not that great on the microphone, but Reigns is a superstar. And he's going to be a superstar for years to come. And I have to admit that I enjoyed him being chokeslammed to end Raw with The Undertaker standing tall. I don't think I'm going to be happy after WrestleMania because I feel like Reigns is going to beat The Undertaker, and then The Undertaker is going to go away forever, and Reigns is going to have the last victory over The Undertaker in his career. That's my fear, and that's not what I want. So all in all, I feel like Raw did a decent job of building their matches for WrestleMania. I feel like the promos were solid. I feel like the matches were decent. You know, Charlotte and Dana Brooke dynamic. I don't understand that dynamic because Dana Brooke is there sometimes and then she's not. And then also the Sasha and Bayley match, the crowd was just not into it for some reason. I don't know if it's because it was two fan favorites and they didn't want to cheer for one or the other because they both are, you know, uber popular. But the fans just weren't into it, and I found that kind of weird. But all in all, I think Raw was a decent show. Now let's go ahead and let's move on to SmackDown. We have a lot less to cover on SmackDown, and that seems to be the growing theme between the two shows, is that Raw puts all of this extra stuff in, you know, to fill 3 hours, and SmackDown being 2 hours sometimes feels too short because not everybody can get on the show. But they opened this week's show with Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon, who is the GM, and they did a good job of building up the Randy Orton and AJ Styles main event for later in the night. Bryan felt that Randy Orton should get the shot because Randy Orton won the Royal Rumble, and Styles should get the shot, according to Shane McMahon, because he beat Luke Harper after Randy Orton gave up his title shot against Bray Wyatt. So they did a really good job of building that match and trying to set the tone for how important it was. And I like it. I like it a lot. I feel like they probably could have cut it a little bit. It went a little bit longer than I feel like it should have been, but it was a nice change from the norm. And we already knew that the match was going to happen, but really, do they ever like give a real reason behind, like have an actual dilemma, you know, for a match? And typically it's something like two people don't like each other, or somebody came out and then the next wrestler comes out and they have a verbal back and forth and the GM comes out and makes a match. I mean, that's a typical Raw intro right there. So I was happy to see some background happening there. So the first of only 3 matches, I believe, on SmackDown was a mixed tag team match with John Cena and Nikki Bella versus James Ellsworth and Carmella. I don't like the James Ellsworth and Carmella aspect. I think it's corny, which is the point, I guess. James Ellsworth is supposed to be corny, and Carmella has just taken a back seat to every other female wrestler on the roster. I mean, she's not doing anything these days, and you just knew that John Cena and Nikki Bella were gonna squash both of them. And I'm sure a lot of people like the dynamic between Cena and Bella because it's realistic. They're actually a couple and they acknowledge it, and it's the first time that they've actually like been in the ring together personally, I feel like they should have saved the first match for WrestleMania. The first time that they're actually in the ring wrestling together should have been at WrestleMania itself. Which leads me to WrestleMania, where John Cena and Nikki Bella it seems like they're going to face Maurice and The Miz in some type of tag team match. I mean, it's all but announced at this point. And it'll be good to see Maurice in the ring again. She was one of my favorites, years ago. I want to say this was 2011, 2012, something like that. But Maurice was Divas Champion when they had a Divas Championship show. She can work in the ring. I don't think she's on the level of Nikki Bella, but she has a lot of attitude and spunk. So it'd be good to see her in the ring once again after all these years. And The Miz is doing awesome. And no pun to The Miz, he's actually doing awesome in his character right now. So I'm happy that he's getting a match where he gets to work somebody like Cena, and they don't just toss him in a multi-man match or in like a ladder match or a battle royal. Miz deserves everything that he's getting right now, and I would love to see him beat John Cena at WrestleMania again. Or I'd like to see Maurice pin Nikki Bella, one or the other. I doubt that's going to happen. I feel like we're going to get the typical happy ending story with Nikki Bella and John Cena in the ring at the same time, and if he proposes to her, I'm too done. I'm going to walk out of the arena. So the next match was supposed to be Dean Ambrose versus Kurt Hawkins. Hawkins got a good 10 seconds on the microphone. Ambrose comes out and just lays him out, and there is no match. And then we have another promo with Baron Corbin and Dean Ambrose. I am very impressed with Baron Corbin. I think he's grown a lot, and he has a lot of potential, and he's going to be a big name in the company. So happy that he's on SmackDown and not on Raw, because I feel like he would just be lost in the shuffle over on Raw. And Dean Ambrose is IC champion right now, so that'll give Corbin a nice rub at WrestleMania to have a match with somebody who can put on a decent match, which is Dean Ambrose. So I'm looking forward to their match at WrestleMania also. And actually, that could be a nice opening match to WrestleMania, Baron Corbin and Dean Ambrose. It seems like Ambrose is always in opening matches at WrestleMania, other than his match with Brock Lesnar last year. I think he opened at Mania 29, which was his first WrestleMania. WrestleMania 30, he was in the second match. 31, he was in the first match. So we had another backstage interview with Mojo Rawley and Dasha Fuentes. Mojo Rawley announces that he's going to be in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which is the only reason why I mentioned this in the first place, is that we do have an Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal for the year, and Mojo's the first person in it. Big whoop. Dolph Ziggler walks up and pretty much puts Mojo on notice, but he didn't say that he was going to be in the match. I believe we're going to see Dolph Ziggler in the Battle Royal because they don't have anything for him, and his heel character isn't doing much of anything right now. Usually when you turn heel, you make a change. Similar to the Usos. Like the Usos changed their whole gimmick. They became two completely different people. Ziggler didn't. And as much as I love Dolph Ziggler, he's one of my favorites. He didn't change. He's the same Dolph Ziggler with an attitude. And I don't think that's going to propel him to championship status at this point. And then on Talking Smack, Apollo Crews announced that he was going to be in the Battle Royal as well. So we have 3 SmackDown guys in the Battle Royal and no Raw guys as of right now. I'm just waiting for my main man Heath Slater to enter the Battle Royal. I feel like he should have a match because he had a great year, him and Rhino. They should be in some type of tag team like match or something. So the next segment was the Bliss rotation. Alexa Bliss choosing her WrestleMania opponent, and I missed this on the Raw recap, but why did Bayley and Alexa get to choose their opponents? That I did not understand. But anyway, you had Mickie James and Natalya and Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss in the ring at the same time, and Bliss didn't want to face any of them. It turns out that she promised Mickie James a championship match if she helped her beat Becky Lynch, and she did, and then she tried to pull back her offer, so Mickie got a little mad, and it set up a tag team match with Alexa and Mickie versus Becky Lynch and Natalya. And in the end, Mickie James turned on Alexa, and Becky Lynch got the win. But it's weird to me that Alexa is in a match with all available SmackDown women on the roster, because there's not any available. I mean, Maurice and Nikki are gone. You had the 4 that were in the tag match. Does that mean that Naomi is going to be cleared to compete and she's going to return? Does that mean that Tamina, who's been working live events, is going to return and enter the match? Does that mean that Eva Marie is going to make some type of return and enter the match? I mean, there are so many different dynamics that you can add into it, but I'm happy to see that Bliss is getting a match on the show, and Natalya as well, because she's been there for years and she deserves it probably more than any of them. Mickie James returns to WrestleMania, and Becky Lynch, of course, returns to WrestleMania. You know what? I'm mad that Becky Lynch is not on the poster for WrestleMania, but Alexa is, and Nikki Bella and Maurice is. That sucks. Final match of the night is Randy Orton and AJ Styles for the #1 contendership to Bray Wyatt's World Heavyweight Championship. And they had a great match. I wouldn't say it was amazing, but I would say it was great. I would give it close to 4 stars. I believe it wasn't a one-sided match. It was a very evenly contested match. It was great. A few slips here and there, but I mean, that happens in wrestling. That just shows you that there's some realism to it. Like, sometimes, things happen and you slip up, but in the end, I feel like Orton was the right guy to win. Me personally, if I had the choice, I would have Wyatt facing Luke Harper at WrestleMania, and I would have Randy Orton facing AJ Styles for the championship at WrestleMania. I feel like AJ Styles should be in the main event of WrestleMania because he is the hottest thing in the company right now. He never has a bad match, and I feel like he needs to be rewarded for that. Putting Goldberg in a main event match over AJ Styles is just ridiculous, and I don't agree with it. But I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna watch WrestleMania and I'm gonna enjoy the show. So this is NTCertified. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. Feel free to tell me how you feel about the current product and what you're looking forward to on WrestleMania, and what types of matches that you would prefer to see rather than what's being booked right now. I will see you on Tuesday, where I'll announce the items for my 300 subscriber giveaway. Follow me on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube Live. Peace.